Now, this thing that you did when you walked across Antarctica, very impressive, incredible. But I'm sure you've seen the National Geographic article they wrote about you. And they said that there was another man from, was it Norway, that had done it already. That it wasn't the first time someone had gone across Antarctica.
Yeah.
He had gone actually a further distance.
Yeah. So something I've been talking about super openly, including in my book, which is the Nat Geo article. You know, it's a little bit unfortunate. I actually just published a 16-page letter asking Nat Geo to retract the entire article. And the reason it's 16 pages is, unfortunately, the entire article they wrote is just so riddled with inaccuracies and kind of misrepresentations and omissions that, you know, we had to kind of ask them, say, hey, look, you know, you kind of got this wrong. I was never properly interviewed for it. But one of the things, you're talking about this guy, Borge Ausland, this Norwegian guy, absolute freaking legend. So what this guy did in 1996, so, you know, 20 some years before that I attempted my crossing, is he crossed Antarctica from the edge of the coastline, across the ice shelf, all the way across the landmass, across the other ice shelf, roughly 1,800 miles. And what he used to propel himself was he used a kite for a good portion of the time. And it's an absolute extraordinary project. And what's really weird about sort of this National Geographic article, a number of senses, is one of the premises of it was saying, you know, Colin never talked about Borge Ausland. Like, he never talked about him in his book. He never mentioned him. He never this. And in my book, what's really bizarre and why we're asking for a retraction, because it's just really ineffectual, is that, you know, here I am on page 49 of my book. Literally, it says, the Norwegian adventurer Borge Ausland in many ways defined the terrain of astonishing modern Antarctic feats, becoming the first person to cross Antarctica solo when he traveled 1,800 miles in 63 days from 1996 to 1997. Not only did he cross the entire landmass of Antarctica, but he also crossed the full Ron and Ross ice shelves from the ocean's edge. Ausland's expedition has deeply inspired me and was unsupported, and he hauled all of his food and fuels with no resupplies. So it was weird. It's like the journalist like wrote this article but didn't read my book.
That's not surprising.
And I had done, I don't know, there's a lot of speculation. I had did this big project, and the film project around the row was with Discovery. I don't know if Nat Geo is coming at Discovery or whatever, but it's really bizarre. I mean, we could talk about all the different kind of fine points of that, but the big distinction, and like I'll say it, I've said it, shout it from the rooftops, but I'll say it here again. Borge Ausland is absolutely incredible. Like, I am in awe of the guy. What he did in 96 is phenomenal. That's why I write about it in my book. That's why I've written about it on my social. The day after I finished my crossing, I wrote about it on there as well. And I said, wow, so many people have inspired me. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. The only way I was able to do this.
Right, but this says impossible first, right? So he did it first.
Right. So the difference is there's kind of two really specific distinctions in the world of polar travel. There's unsupported, which means not getting resupply with food or fuel, like I was talking about with the food. And then there's unassisted, which means not using anything to propel you other than your own body. So that's called human powered alone. So what he did is considered assisted, in that he used a kite. But he was able to go twice the distance of me, which is amazing. So he
How often did he use the kite? Because what I'd read that he had only used the kite in a few instances where the wind was right.
Right. So that's another one of the things that the National Geographic article unfortunately got wrong. And in my 16-page letter that anyone can read, it's on my website, colinobrady.com/blog, letter to Nat Geo, or it's linked to my Instagram. It's not like a he said thing where I'm like, oh, hey, this got wrong. It's just actually a really kind of documented and sourced document that has links to everything. And one of the links it shows is actually his entire kind of project afterwards in the aftermath of him talking about it, including talking about with Parawing, which was one of his sponsors, the guys who actually built and manufactured the kite. And they're talking about how he used it for about at least a third of his journey, 600 or so miles, as well as, you know, he was able to use the kite going 125 miles in a single day, which is, like I said, it's amazing. It's really incredible what he did in the time that he did it. It's just really kind of an apples and oranges comparison when it comes to polar travel and the distinctions of that.
So he traveled further, but he used some assistance.
Yeah, so there's basically these different distinctions in the world of polar travel, and that's another one of the things, again, I'm not sure how they got this wrong. And in the link on the 16-page thing, I show the text message when the journalist asked me, well, tell me about these definitions of unsupported and unassisted, and I sent him the link, and there's these links. It's kind of published thing on this website called Antarctica Logistics and Expeditions, the main sort of expedition facilitator, the person who like runs the logistics down down there. It's very clear. Unsupported means no use of resupplies. Unassisted means no use of kites or dogs. And so the thing that I did solo, that people, I guess, have gotten somewhat confused about, or at first, was I was the first person to cross the landmass of Antarctica, solo, unsupported, no resupplies, and unassisted, no kites. What Borge Ausland did is he was the first person to cross Antarctica, not just the landmass, but also the ice shelves. So there's frozen ocean on these ice shelves. So from the coast, across the ice shelf, across the landmass, and across the other ice shelf. And no one yet, including myself, has ever done a solo, unsupported, unassisted crossing of both the landmass and the ice shelves. I hope someone does it, man. It would be amazing. I had 375-pound sled, and I almost ran out of food at the end crossing the landmass. If you'd need maybe a 600-pound sled or something like that, or maybe a more optimized food solution that no one's thought of yet, but hasn't been done yet.
How big was Ausland's sled?
Similar size to me. So he was out there for, I think he was out there for 63 days, roughly. I was out there for 54 days. So we were not out there a lot difference in duration of time.
Okay. So the sled really did make a big difference then if he's going that much further than you.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So one more time, you were out there how many days?
I was out there 54 days.
And he was out there
63 days.
Okay, that's not that different.
Right.